Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Melt the Midlife Middle Success interview. Today, we have an interview with Lois Linhares. Oh gosh, now did I pronounce your name right, Lois?
Yes, you did.
I, I've only known her 10 years, but I do this every single time I panic. So that's good because in my mind, you'll be always pronounced differently. But I met Lois, I don't know, close to 10 years ago as a Pilates student of mine. And from there, we've continued to do Pilates and essential oils and now intermittent fasting. And we've, on top of all of that, we've become good friends. So today, Lois has had a great success on doing intermittent fasting and utilizing the Melt the Midlife Middle program. So I'm going to ask Lois a few questions and just, tell us basically about your experience and so forth. So let me just start by asking you, why did you join the Melt the Midlife Middle program? And just kind of maybe give people, why don't you give people a little bit of your intro because it was a little bit different than other people's intros to the program.
Yeah, I actually started it. I started investigating it. I think you had brought it up that you were going to read a book about intermittent fasting. So I went out, did my own research, found out about Jen Stevens and watched some YouTube videos. And I'm like, well, this is pretty cool. I'm basically going to just give up breakfast. So I tried it. I think that's going back to March or April of 2018. And then when your program started, it was great to have the support of, seeing everybody else's journey going through it. It was relatively easy for me. I'm single, so I can set my own schedule. Um, I was interested in eating healthier. I didn't have a lot of weight to lose. It just kind of blended real well into my schedule.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And I think that's what a lot of people find with the intermittent fasting. It's the convenience of it. We're a lot of busy people in a busy world, and to be able just to kind of work it around your schedule on a daily basis makes a big difference. So, how long have you been actually doing fast? Have you been intermittent fasting for?
Well, it's almost like what, 2 more months and it'll be 2 years.
Wow, wow. And so would you say out of those 2 years, you pretty much, 95% of the time, are doing it? Like, what would you say that, your commitment over the past 2 years has been in terms of doing the intermittent fasting?
I find no problem doing an 18-hour fast. If,
Okay.
basically my window opens at noontime, and I have found that if I have my main meal at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, then by the time it's time to close my window, I'm not hungry.
Mhm.
So I have a snack. I might have some cheese or crackers or yogurt and fruit, an avocado, or I'll have my avocado toast at night, whereas a lot of people open their window with it. So that seems to be what works for me. Now, as you know, I travel a lot, so that puts a little thorn into things, um, and holidays, all of that. So what I do is instead of doing um, a having a 6-hour window, I'll open it to an 8-hour window. And maybe I'll have a go to brunch at 10 o'clock in the morning. So that's what I like about it, is that it's so flexible.
Yeah, and definitely. And Lois, when she says she travels a lot, she means she travels a lot. She's getting ready to leave for a 28-day cruise soon. So she definitely does. And think about that, being on a cruise and, being able to manage your fasting. You can eat any time of the day on a cruise, right? So it doesn't
Yeah,
really matter
yeah.
at food. So it really doesn't matter the hours.
The
So
interesting thing is now that I look, when I go up in the morning for my coffee, I'll look at people walking by with plates just loaded with food. And I'm like, how can they eat that much? I mean, I used to be one of those people. I
yeah,
had uncontrolled eating. I would eat the 3 meals a day. I'd go to the buffet breakfast, go to the buffet lunch, and then have a full dinner, and then dessert. And now it's like completely changed. I've one of the things when I first started intermittent fasting, the first month, um, I didn't have any trouble with the eating during the window, but I noticed my weight loss was a little different. I kind of followed Jen Stevens' group for a while, and I'm seeing all these people losing, massive amounts of weight in the first month. And I'm like, okay, first 30 days, I lost a pound. What's the deal? But I noticed it in my clothes. My bloated feeling was gone. My clothes were looser. So there wasn't a whole big difference in the scale. So, but
But it
as
Lois, let me interrupt you for a second. But those things like not feeling bloated and those are motivating factors to keep going, even if the scale wasn't moving. I would assume so, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because, what I decided to do is after the first, say, month or 6 weeks, I changed it up a little and got rid of carbs and sugar.
Hmm.
Because basically the first 30 days, I ate anything that I wanted. It wasn't like I was preparing special foods. I was eating healthy,
Hmm.
but I cut out the carbs and the sugar, and then the weight really started to drop off.
And so in my Melt the Midlife Middle program, we have no restrictions in my particular program, but it's individualized for everybody. So some people, like myself, I say this all the time, I have no issue with carbs. Carbs don't stick to my body the way they stick to some people's bodies, but sugar, that's an issue for me. So, everybody has to kind of tweak it as they go, as their own journey goes on. And I'm so glad that you did your own due diligence and your own research before I had the program to be able to kind of figure that out for yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing, the only downside I had when I first started was I would get lightheaded.
Hmm.
And because I think it was, living in Florida, it was hot. And I think I was going out on some hikes in the morning and I would get really lightheaded. And what I found I had to do was add a few grains of Himalayan salt to my water. So whether it was low
Yeah.
potassium or low blood pressure,
Mhm.
but it would, I would just get lightheaded and a little nauseous. And it only lasted for a couple of weeks and then it
Mhm.
went away. But
Yeah, that's good. You can remember back to the beginning too, a little bit how you felt, because you kind of can understand when you see other people in the group. And I know you're great at giving advice, like things like the Himalayan salt,
yeah,
because some people do really. Some people, it's a switch and there's not a problem, and then some people will have a little
and
bit.
I've noticed some people say, well, I get headaches. Well, you gave up sugar. If you give up sugar, you're going to go through like a withdrawal. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. So that's again, I think, where the Melt the Midlife Middle program kind of is supportive, is because if you're doing this on your own, and you're not someone like yourself who's a researcher who's already kind of in the healthy world, you kind of feel like something's wrong with you, and I better stop this fasting thing before it even do what it needs to do. And it's so that's wonderful. So Lois, I always like to put you on the spot with this, but if you would share with everybody, if you don't mind, your age and how much weight that you've lost, and if you also know your inches, that would be wonderful.
Okay. I'm going to be 76 in April. I've lost 35 pounds, which is five pounds below my goal.
Yeah.
Um, when I reached my goal, I just kept eating the same thing that I was doing, and the weight just kept coming off. And I'm like, okay, I guess, and that was not without cheating. I like a glass of wine a couple of days a week. And, today I went out to lunch and somebody had chocolates and I had one. So but it's not something that I do every day. Like, I'm more in control. I did not start off with measuring inches, but
Okay.
I went from, let me see, I think I was a size 12, should have been a 14, so an uncomfortable 12, and now I'm in a very comfortable 8. So
Wonderful.
I,
And you look fabulous. You absolutely do.
yeah. So,
So let me just see here. So you mentioned your fasting schedule. So it's typically you fast between 12 and 6 p.m. Is that what you're saying?
mm-hmm.
So do you go now, from someone like myself, I don't eat, I am up all night long till late hours, so I could never stop eating at 6. Do you go to bed a little earlier, or, um, what time do you go to bed typically for stopping eating at 6?
Oh, probably 10 or 11. I don't have the evening hunger that I used to before. I used to always have to have a snack around 9 o'clock, even if it was just an apple. or yogurt or something like that. Now I just, once my window closes, I go in, I brush my teeth, and then that's it. I'm not hungry at all at night.
Yeah, and I think, and so we talk a lot in my program. It's not just the physical, because physically there's something going on. Your body has now become what we've called fat adapted. So your body is used to it now. But I think that's a big mental switch too, because that nine, right? It's just an apple. Was an apple making or breaking your entire hunger for the night? Of course not. But
Yeah.
but we're just used to, oh, it's 9 o'clock. I have to have a snack or something before bed. And so I think part of being part of this program and of just seeing the changes in our body. We don't want to eat after our window closes because we see the results that happen. And then that just helps us switch that kind of, snack off, off our brain. We don't think about it as much.
Yeah. The other thing too that I've noticed is, everybody will say, how can you go and not have breakfast in the morning? And I just found that, my morning schedule is busy. So, I mean, to have to not cook a bagel or make eggs or anything like that was easy to do because I'm generally out of the house by, up at 7, out of the house by 8. And I don't get back until running errands and everything else is probably noontime. So I'm busy. But I do notice that if I have a morning where I'm just sitting around, I have to be careful because it would be easy to say, oh, well, let's just break the fast today and have something. But, keeping busy, I think, is another thing that helps.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. So let's say it is an hour before you're breaking fast and you are home. Are there any things that you use? Part of my program includes the essential oils, and I know that you're a big essential oils user. Do you ever utilize the essential oils as part of either your fasting time or your feasting time?
Occasionally, generally if I've got an hour and I'm starting to get hungry, I'll just have a big glass of water.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll put, peppermint in it, or sometimes if I'm going out, your breath is a little stale from not eating. I'll do the peppermint trick on my thumb and put it on the roof of my mouth. And then that satisfies it, gets me through the next hour. And the thing is that sometimes you're looking for that hour, and then the next thing you know, you're doing something, and it's like 2 hours have gone away. And next thing you know, it's 2 o'clock, and it's like, oh, I haven't even eaten yet. I wasn't even hungry. So keeping busy helps.
Yep, I think that, and I agree with you. And between that and using like something like the peppermint oil, which naturally helps you kind of extend that fasting period, I something similar happened to me yesterday when I promised my husband that we'd be going out to eat soon. And literally 3 hours later, he says, "Do you eat?" Because I was just involved in a project, and because I thought you were starving. I said I was, but the moment passes. So
It passes. It
it really does, and I think that's what people really need to know if they're trying intermittent fasting is that you won't die. Like if you skip a meal or it's an extra hour or two, you won't die. In the beginning, might you or might you not feel a little drowsy? Might you have a little headache or feel maybe not, but get past that first week or so, and it's not even issues like that anymore. So you're saying, so what does a typical day look like for you in terms of eating? Like once you break your fast, what are some typical foods that you will eat?
Well, I usually open my fast with my Ninja at noontime. That was an adjustment because I was always used to getting up in the morning having the Ninja, so I had to move that ahead. And then I'll put maybe a drop of lemon in the Ninja, or copaiba, or just another oil. And then while I'm sipping on that, I'm cooking basically to make whatever I'm going to have for my lunch, my main meal, which is my main meal. And then after that, it's my afternoons that are my quiet time. As you know, I'm a quilter, so I'm sitting at a sewing machine most of the afternoon or reading. And then the next thing I know, it's 5 o'clock and I've only got an hour left. And I'm like, gee, I'm not really hungry. It's not like I want to have a sandwich or anything like that. So generally, I'll just have yogurt and a piece of fruit, or
What do you
something
eat
like
at lunchtime that's filling you up? Like what is that you feel? What are you eating for your main meal that's keeping you satisfied?
Well, I'll have meat and a couple of vegetables, salad. Sometimes I'll just have a big salad and I throw everything into it.
Hmm.
And I
That's
mean, I have a big bowl of salad. I'll take a whole, like a small head of romaine lettuce and chop it all up and just make a whole chopped salad type, put hard-boiled eggs in it. And if I have some leftover chicken, I throw that in. So whatever I've got in the house, black beans, garbanzos, you know.
Yeah. So all those things are very not only healthy, but they're also things like the beans and the protein and so forth. Those are things that definitely are going to help you get through, the fast. And like you said, and once your body's net becomes adjusted the way yours has, that's enough to get your body for the day and get you going. And if you guys were to see Lois, if standing up and seeing her, she looks fabulous. And, and such a big part of that is because not only are you eating right and doing the intermittent fasting, but you are exercising. I know you're a big exerciser. So what are some of the things that you do to incorporate exercise into your intermittent fasting lifestyle?
Well, generally, from eight in the morning until 8:45, I'm at the gym, and I usually do the treadmill or the elliptical.
Hmm.
And then from 9 to 9:45, I do water aerobics, and every day it's a different class. So some days it's focused on aerobics, some days it's focused on stretching or balance. I love to walk. I like to do outside activities. And then one day a week I do Pilates
That's
if,
right.
if, if we all get together.
Then we can all get together. Exactly. So
So,
that's wonderful. And so all of that is what keeps you, as being able to be the world traveler that you are and being able to pick up and, the cruise is more of a lay down and, and chill kind of vacation. But typically, Lois is going to foreign countries where it's a lot of walking. You're not sleeping in the rest places. You're not in control of a lot of things. And yet somehow you always come back, empowered that you were able to manage this lifestyle and still have a great time and not give up anything. So
yeah. Well,
that's
I think intermittent fasting has given me a lot of energy. That's the other thing that I noticed too is my energy level is much higher than it was before I started this. Um, I mean, I'm awake at between 5 and 6 in the morning. Just don't call me after 9 o'clock at night because I do crash. But I have a very full day. I mean, I'm going, the whole time.
so.
So
And not many 76-year-olds can say that. I mean, I know that you live in a retirement community, and I'm sure you see your peers around you. And although you run in good circles, I know who you do.
yeah,
You a lot of people, as they get into their 50s or 60s or 70s, this midlife years, that their body, isn't allowing them to do the things they want. And something like fasting, I mean, I know that you probably wouldn't be able to have done many of these long vacations that you did with all that arduous hiking and walking had you not lost the weight and had this renewed energy, for sure. So I think people think of intermittent fasting as a way to lose weight, but I don't know. Would you agree that it's really like a new lease on life? Like it's just like a new way of living, and you just feel like a new person.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So just specifically the Melt the Midlife Middle program. Now I know that by the time I started the program, you were already probably 6, 7 months into your thing. I think you may have even already been at your goal. I don't remember.
Right.
But being as part of the group, what is the group setting? How do you find that helps you both in terms of supporting others and getting the support that you need?
Well, we learn from one another. So even some of the new people, the problems that they bring up that they're having, so we can support one another. Um, when they come up with a problem that those of us that have been in it a while can offer solutions. And then I think it's been helpful just to me just to hear other people's journey and how different and diversified everything is on it as to what they're eating and how they're dealing with it. I know a lot of people have families, and I didn't have that issue. Being alone, I can set my own schedule. So I think it was, more attuned to people and how they're dealing with it with a family issue.
Yeah.
Having to cook for others.
And
So
so I'm just curious, Lois, what do your friends and family think when you go out? a couple people say, why aren't you eating breakfast? And what do you tell them when they say, does anybody ever give you a hard time about this lifestyle?
No, no, my family's been very supportive. My daughter is doing it, and my sister is doing it. So, some people just pick it up because you're doing it. So I think it's an influence on other people too. You'll get people that will say, well, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You go through that. And it's just, I've seen the results in my body and the way I feel. So they can't convince me to go back to having breakfast.
Living it is believing it. That's definitely what I.
Yeah. And I don't have any problem just sitting there having a cup of coffee. If they're all having a bit, and like I said, on the cruise, when I see people with all of that food on their plate, and I mean, I'm not hungry. It's not like I'm sitting there starving and denying myself. I'm not hungry.
Right. Yeah. Your body is burning fat for fuel,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
you are eating. It's just you're eating on the inside, like if you want to kind of.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. And you said something about how your sister and your daughter are both doing it. I would say for myself, having started this program and wrote my book, and having started it, it's like the ripple effect, right? I mean, I know that maybe there's 100 people in my group, but I know that there's so many more people that you have all influenced in either just living the lifestyle or actually going out and teaching others. This isn't, intermittent fasting, as my husband says, it isn't brain surgery. You just don't eat or you eat. There's not all that, but for some people, that they need the support of a group to really, like you said, hear other people's journeys, ask the questions that are needed, and so forth. But being able just to go and let your family know what a fabulous gift that you're giving everybody, just like.
Well, we've kind of been conditioned that life is 3 meals a day, or 6 small meals a day, or something. When that whole thought came, So
yeah.
my blood work is good. My doctor has been as supportive as much as I have a doctor who says whatever works is fine. You're healthy and active at my age, so
Yeah,
go
absolutely.
for it. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, I know you've got a busy life, so I don't want to keep you much longer. I just want to know if there's maybe one, anything else you want to add to your journey, or one piece of advice maybe to give people, or just a closing, statement just to kind of share.
Yeah. I just sense some people out there might be a little frustrated because they're too into the scale, looking at the scale. And I got away from that. And I used to weigh myself every morning, and I got out of that habit, and more whatever I put on in the morning, how it feels on me is how I kind of judge how it goes. I mean, I might weigh myself every couple of weeks just to see, if I'm still within that window of what my weight should be. But I basically, at this point, it's just how I feel and how my clothes fit.
Yeah. I play this little game with myself. I'll wake up in the morning and I'll see how I feel, and I'll pick a number in my head of what I am, how much I weigh. And almost always to the T, if I get on the scale to see myself and see if I'm right, I'm right. And I think we become so in tune to our bodies that we notice the couple of pounds fluctuation here and there.
Yeah.
So into other real indicators of what's going on in your body than the metal box on the floor with a number that could be off because your floor is a little tilted,
So I think my advice would be to tell people, forget about the scale, because it can be a downer to get on and say, oh, I've been so good and here I am, haven't lost an ounce, or I'm up a pound or something like that. So, get rid of your scales, ladies.
Perfect advice. I love it. So last thing here, what would you say on a scale of 1 to 10 is your confidence level that intermittent fasting has become a permanent part of your lifestyle, and that it's long-term, and that this is just what you do now?
It's just what I do. So I would have to give it a 10. It's just, I've grown accustomed to it. This is my lifestyle now. It's not a diet to me anymore. It's just a lifestyle.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Well, Lois, thank you so much for taking the time today to share with everybody. And I just know that your story is going to inspire other people because it always inspires me. And there's a little squirrel going up your screen in the back. That's really cute.
Well, yeah.
This is fun and all the stuff. So, well, absolutely. So wonderful, and thank you for being just a big part of the Melt the Midlife Middle program and offering your advice and your support to everybody in the group and to myself as well. And just have a wonderful day, and thank you so much.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.